This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to easily and efficiently build and manage your own website. Hi everyone, I'm FlygonHG, and this is the video of my attempts at a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Y using only single stage Pokemon. To see what I define as hardcore Nuzlocke rules, check out the description below. But in short, no items in battle, no overleveling past the gym leader's ace before the start of the battle, and we're playing on set mode. For this challenge, we are only using single stage Pokemon, which by definition are Pokemon that do not evolve from or into another Pokemon. The Kalos region actually has quite a few of these single stage Pokemon, ranging from pretty bad Pokemon like Farfetch'd and Chatot, to pretty good ones like Tauros and Hawlucha. So the encounter list for this challenge is certainly diverse. You can see a full list in the description down below. And yes, almost every legendary and mythical is technically a single stage Pokemon, but I won't be using them for this challenge. Sorry, Bacon Bird. Regardless, this challenge isn't super difficult. I wanted to do a Kalos challenge on stream, so I let the community pick between a couple of options, and this is the one that they wanted to see. So hopefully it's a fun one. And this full challenge is also viewable in the form of stream highlights on the FlygonHG Highlights channel that recently launched. There's also highlights of my first hardcore Nuzlocke of Renegade Platinum, which I'm working through right now on stream. So be sure to subscribe to FlygonHG Highlights to catch all that action before I cut it into a final video for the main channel, if you want. Just as a quick reminder before we start, I play with Species Clause, so I'll be able to reroll encounters until I get a unique encounter, but I can only use one of each unique evolution line. Okay, let's see how this goes. As always, I start the game by choosing my starter, none of which are single stage Pokemon, obviously. So I just choose Froakie and then speed my way through the first few routes of the game until I can get to Route 3. On Route 3, I can catch my first single stage Pokemon and the de facto starter of the run, a Dunsparce.
Did someone say Dunsparce?
Antler Boy? What are you doing in my house?
Oh, Swedish law actually requires me to show up whenever someone uses Dunsparce as a starter. Make sure it gets his free healthcare and all that.
Okay, well, you can stay if you just sit quietly in the corner, I guess.
No need, I won't be sticking around, but you'll find me at IKEA if you need me. And hey, remember to play around the crit. I'm counting on it.
Alright, will do, Antler Boy. Thanks for stopping by. Anyways, I name our new Dunsparce Hello. And then, after depositing Froakie in the box and leveling up Hello a bit, I go to Route 23 to catch our second team member, a Farfetch'd. But this turns out to be a little bit harder than I thought it would be. And, well, say goodbye to Hello. Okay, so that's attempt 1. On attempt 2, I catch another Dunsparce and again name him Hello. Unfortunately, Hello number 2 has Runaway as an ability instead of Serene Grace, and it also has a pretty lousy nature. So, while this footage may look like me recklessly losing Hello in an honor battle against a wild Dunsparce, I like to think of it as a subconscious mercy kill. Hello number 2 was never going to make it in this dunce eat dunce world. So, on attempt 3, I catch Hello number 3, who again has Serene Grace. I also decide to forego catching Farfetch'd right now and instead just challenge the first gym leader, Viola. Hello has access to Defense Curl and Rollout, so after I set up a Defense Curl to double Rollout's damage, as long as I don't miss a few Rollouts, Viola is a piece of cake. And fortunately, I don't miss any Rollouts, so that's the first gym badge. Now that Hello has a few more levels, and we have access to Great Balls, I try my hand at Farfetch'd again. I know that I can always trade for a Farfetch'd, but I'd much rather have a shiny new Farfetch'd that I catch in the wild than someone's slimy hand-me-down. Fortunately, I am able to catch the Farfetch'd this time, so I name him Bad Blood. After plowing through Lumiose City, we end up on Route 4, where I encounter literally just a dog. I catch him and name him Style. He's got the ability Fur Coat, so he'll be a pretty solid defensive tank. Then I continue my apparently normal type Monolock by catching an Audinito named Despacito on Route 5 and a Smeargle named One More Time on Route 6. Karina's fighting type gym is starting to look a little disconcerting. On Route 8, the Monolock does end as I encounter an Absol, though he doesn't really help with our fighting type weakness. Regardless, I catch him and name him Pompeii. Then in Glittering Cave, I catch a Solrock and name them Solar Power. I also find an old Amber in literally the first rock I smash, so I bring it to the Fossil Lab place and the man revives an Aerodactyl for me using the power of science, or necromancy, whatever you prefer. I name the Aerodactyl Get Lucky. Now our team is looking relatively diverse and actually pretty strong, so it's pretty easy for us to defeat Grant. The gym leaders are incredibly underwhelming in Kalos, easily X and Y's biggest flaws. Grand Samara goes down to a few rock smashes from Pompeii as it paralyzes with Thunderwave. Grant wastes a Hyper Potion here as well. Tyrunt is second and last, and thanks to paralysis and flinch from Stomp and Bite, I'm not actually able to land too many hits before Pompeii falls into critical hit range. So I switch out to Style, who tanks a Rock Tomb. And then, despite the speed drop, we still outspeed and finish off the Tyrunt with a Rock Smash. Easy second gym. After that, I head to Route 10 and I catch a Sigilyph, which I always thought kinda looked like a really over-the-top unknown evolution, but it is a single stage Pokemon. One of the coolest parts of this run is that it's forcing me to use Pokemon that I've literally never used. I name Sigilyph YMCA and he joins the team, giving us a pretty good answer to Karina's fighting types. After that, on Route 11, I find what appears to be a very confused man who has painted himself red. That, or a Muppet, got loose. Somehow it's legally okay for me to keep this poor man slash Muppet in a Pokeball, so I do just that. I name him Cardigan, but he goes in the box for now. Then we get to Reflection Cave, where I'm able to find my favorite Pokemon, Carbink. Carbink did elude me in my Fairy-type only run of X and Y because of Mr. Mime, but now nothing is going to get in my way of catching a Carbink. What a load of crap. Carbink continues to be the one that got away. Well, Sableye is honestly a pretty decent encounter here since his ghost typing means that only one of Karina's Pokemon can actually damage him. So, 24 Karat Magic joins the team as we challenge the third gym leader, Karina. She leads with a Mienfoo, so I lead with YMCA. Then we just outspeed and knock out the Mienfoo with a single Psybeam. Machoke is next, so I hit him with a Psybeam, which is another one-shot. So third is Hawlucha. Hawlucha can't hit 24 Karat Magic, so this is always a win, but I decide to just stay in as Hawlucha goes for a Hone Claws. Then YMCA hits a Psybeam, which is barely not a one-shot. So Karina heals with a Hyper Potion, but then YMCA high rolls for the one-shot, winning us another very easy gym badge. I mean, golly gosh, the only thing that's been easier than defeating these gyms is setting up a website with Squarespace.com. Folks, let me tell you about this video's sponsor. Squarespace is an online platform that helps you build and manage your own website, whether that's an online store for your business or a personal blog for your thoughts. Normally, setting up a website is hard. Who amongst us hasn't tried to desperately set up a website only to quit out of frustration and silently cry yourself to sleep, all the while trying to reassure yourself that you're not stupid, the internet is stupid? Well, cry yourself to sleep no more. Squarespace streamlines the whole process, making it simple to quickly design polished websites using their customizable templates. In no time at all, I was able to easily create PoppyHG.com, the world's premier online destination for images of my corgi puppy Poppy. I haven't cried since. I'm unbelievably hydrated. Squarespace also has a ton of other really useful features, like analytic information about the traffic of your website, the ability to add and play embedded videos directly on your website, and Squarespace member areas, which can be used to connect with audiences and create exclusive members-only content. So, if you're looking to start a website for your business or hobby, then you should absolutely check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready with dry eyes to launch your masterpiece of a website, you can use my custom link to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. The links are in the description below. Thanks so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. With Karina defeated, I'm now able to use Surf, which means I can head to Azure Bay and encounter one of my favorite French Pokemon, Lapras. For the record, YouTube comments, no, I do not use weird pronunciations of Pokemon names to bait comments. I do it because I think it's fun and stupid, which is kinda my MO. Either that, or it's genuinely how I pronounce the name of a Pokemon, which is, by the way, pretty arbitrary. Anyways, Lapras, or if you're a lame stick in the mud, Lapras, has a 1% encounter rate, so it takes a while to find, but not as long as I would have expected. Unfortunately, while trying to catch her, she uses Perish Song, meaning that I now have 3 turns to catch this thing before she takes herself out and brings Style along with her. I decide it's best to just throw a Pokeball, but she breaks out of the first one. So I throw a second Pokeball, but Lapras breaks free from that one as well. I could risk Style's life here on a third ball, but as great as that would be for content, it'd be pretty stupid. A dog in the hand is worth a plesiosaur in the bush. So I switch to Hello, and after Lapras goes for a second Perish Song, which I didn't actually know that she could do, she falls. Well, fortunately, on Route 12, some random chump gives you a free gift Lapras. I originally wanted to get the Lapras from Azure Bay because Route 12 has a lot of other really cool single-stage Pokemon like Tauros, Heracross, and Miltank. But with the Azure Bay Lapras yeeting herself to Davy Jones' locker, I think it's best to just get the guaranteed Lapras here instead of gambling on a wild Pokemon. I name her I'm on a Boat. Next, I have a moment of genuine excitement when I find out that surfing on I'm on a Boat causes her to pop up in the overworld as well. I freaking love these games. I have another moment of genuine excitement when I find out that you can actually jump over this fence with Skiddo. It's a little bit tempered when I learned that the thing can't climb stairs, but those back-to-back delightful moments have really propelled me through the first few months of 2022. Anyways, now it's off to fight the 4th gym leader Ramos, but we've got a pretty solid team for his fight. He leads with Jumpluff, so I lead Get Lucky, who outspeeds to hit a Rock Tomb, which immediately knocks out Jumpluff. Then Weepinbell comes out. I stay in to hit another Rock Tomb as Weepinbell hits a Poison Powder. Then I switch to YMCA as Ramos uses a Hyper Potion. Then a Psybeam one-shots the Weepinbell. So last for Ramos is Go-Goat. We outspeed to hit an Air Cutter for about half health, and then YMCA tanks a hard takedown. So one more Air Cutter, which thankfully hits, is enough to finish off Go-Goat and beat the old man with the comically large pair of scissors. There's no new encounters before the next gym, and Cardigan is able to easily take out everything that Team Flare throws my way. So it's not too long before we're facing down Pajama Sam. My main team isn't great into electric types, so a couple of our friends are coming out of the box to lend a hand. Clement leads with Emolga and I lead Solar Power. Emolga uses Volt Switch into Solar Power to bring out Magneton, but because the only thing that's bigger than my brain is my humility, I predict it and nail the Magneton with a Bulldoze. This doesn't even proc his Sturdy because Solar Power is a little weak, but it doesn't matter. After Clement wastes both his Hyper Potions here, Magneton goes down with a few more Bulldozes. Giliolist comes out next. It has Grass Knot, so I switch to Cardigan, who shrugs it off. And then it's another classic case of Flagon HG underestimating the strength of Clement's Heliolisk, because he hits us hard with a Thunderbolt. But then we hit hard back with a Storm Throw for the one-shot. Oh, and for those of you who don't know, Storm Throw always crits. Emolga is last, so I switch back to Solar Power on an Aerial Ace. Then Solar Power gets hit by a hard Volt Switch, but we were safe to even a crit. So, Solar Power fires off a Rock Slide, which knocks out Emolga in one hit, winning us the 5th gym badge. After that, I take some time to explore the wonders of Lumio City. A taxi man charges me an exorbitant amount of money to drive me to the puppy salon, where I can give Style some style. Chat decides on the Star style, which is unbelievably hideous, but in their defense, all the styles I have access to are unbelievably hideous. So, with my poodle sporting a new do, it's time to move on. Starting first with the fight against Serena. This is the first fight against her that is actually somewhat difficult, because her Pokemon are now fully evolved. Meowstic is out first, who flinches Pompey with a Fake Out on turn 1. Then she sets up a Light Screen as we hit a hard Thief. Then Meowstic goes for a Disarming Voice, but it doesn't do too much because Pompey doesn't have any arms. And then a Thief finishes off the Meowstic. Second is Chestnut, so I switch to YMCA, but Serena's AI is actually so bad that it goes for what seems to be an amazing read and nails YMCA with a super effective Bite, instead of trying to hit Absol with a Seed Bomb. Now I'm in kind of a sucky spot because another Bite will finish off YMCA, and I don't know if an Air Slash will kill thanks to the Light Screen. Plus YMCA might miss. So I switch to Get Lucky, who tanks a Bite pretty well here. Then our mighty Pterodactyl hits a ×4 super effective Aerial Ace, which doesn't one-shot Chestnut. So an Overgrow boosted Seed Bomb knocks out Get Lucky. I mean, I know that Chestnut has good defense and all, but come on. How did that not kill? For all the previous Johto playthroughs that Lance's Aerodactyl has terrorized me, that was a pretty underwhelming performance from my Aerodactyl. But that's what I get for reviving a dead fossil. Necromancy never turns out well. Okay, so YMCA comes out to finish off Chestnut with a Psybeam, and then Serena's Absol comes out. So I switch to Cardigan and brush off a Bite. Then Absol goes for a Swords Dance, so we knock it out in one shot with a Storm Throw, winning us the battle. Yet another Serena fight that takes a life. I thought this challenge might be a deathless one, but it seems that's not in the cards. Anyways, on Route 14 I catch a Carnivine, yet another Pokemon I've never used before. I name him Maneater, and he joins the team as we go to face Valerie. I don't have great answers into fairy types, so this fight might actually be a fairly tough challenge. She leads Mawile though, which doesn't have a fairy move, so Cardigan shrugs off a Crunch and then hits her with a Bulldoze. This doesn't kill, but thanks to the speed drop, we outspeed and knock her out on the next turn. Mr. Mime is second, so I switch to I'm on a Boat as Mr. Mime uses Reflect. Then she uses a Light Screen, so Surf does very little damage. Mr. Mime hits a Psychic for a chunk of damage, and then I switch to Body Slam to abuse Mr. Mime's trash defense. We get a critical hit, but that leaves Mr. Mime in the red as we heal a bit with leftovers. Then Valerie uses a Hyper Potion, so we hit it for a small chunk of damage with Body Slam, which also paralyzes it. So we just continue to plug away with Body Slam. Unfortunately, Mr. Mime gets a special defense drop with Psychic, so she starts to do a lot of damage with her attacks. Valerie also uses a second Hyper Potion, so I now need to switch out before the Mr. Mime goes down. I bring in Maneater as Mr. Mime sets up another Reflect. Then I go for a Stockpile as Mr. Mime gets fully paralyzed. Then I hit Mr. Mime with a Crunch as she retaliates with a pretty strong Psychic. And then one final Crunch finishes off the very annoying Mr. Mime. So last is Sylveon. He outspeeds and hits a Charm as we hit a soft Leaf Tornado. Then Sylveon hits a very hard Dazzling Gleam, which definitely would have killed if it crit, and then Maneater misses a Leaf Storm, which is ridiculous because he is holding a wide lens, meaning that Leaf Tornado has 99% accuracy. Well, I switch to YMCA and take way more damage than I thought I would from a Dazzling Gleam. If I stay in here, I'm risking a critical hit, but I don't have many other options. So I go for an Air Slash, and then Sylveon hits a Charm. So I go for another Air Slash, which causes Sylveon to flinch. Nice, never punished. One more Air Slash knocks out Sylveon, winning us an unexpectedly challenging gym battle. There's a few new encounters on the way to the 7th gym. The first is a Qwilfish on Route 15 who I name Girl on Fire. Then I catch a Cryogonal in Frost Cavern and name them Let It Go. An absolute banger of a song from an absolute banger of a Disney movie. I will not be arguing this. Last is a Delibird from Route 17 who I name Santa Baby. Okay, time for Olympia. She leads with a Sigilyph, so I lead with Pompeii. Sigilyph sets up a Reflect, so our Night Slash doesn't one-shot her. Then she goes for an Air Slash, so another Night Slash finishes her off. Second is Slowking, so I stay in and hit a hard Night Slash. Then Slowking just goes for a Yawn. So Pompeii finishes off the Slowking with a second Night Slash, and then he closes his eyes as he falls asleep. Does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? Meowstic comes in next, so I switch to Style, who shrugs off a critical hit Fake Out. Then 2 returns are enough to finish off the Meowstic as we just take a bit of damage from Psychic, definitively proving that dogs are better than cats. That's badge number 7. So now it's time to save the world. I catch the evil Alphabet Bird with a Master Ball, but they're staying in the box. Which means it's time to face down Lysander and his Mega Gyarados. Unlike the last few Kalos playthroughs I've done, I don't really have a super easy way to deal with the Mega Gyarados, so I'm gonna have to be a little creative. He leads with Mienshao though, so I lead YMCA, who first tanks in Acrobatics and then kills Mienshao with a single Psychic. Pyroar comes out second, so I switch to Cardigan, who gets hit by a Fire Blast, which unfortunately burns him. That's not great because it means that on the next turn a Storm Throw doesn't kill the Pyroar. We were also risking a critical hit there. So I guess I should consider myself pretty lucky, though getting hit by 2 85% accurate Fire Blasts in a row and also getting a burn is pretty unlikely. Either way, I gotta switch, so I bring in Style, who also gets hit by a Fire Blast. But then a return knocks out Pyroar. Third is Honchkrow, so I switch to Girl on Fire and tank a critical hit Night Slash. Then Honchkrow hits a Steel Wing as Girl on Fire retaliates with a Mirror Shot. I intentionally choose not to use Dazzling Gleam here because I want I'm on a boat out when the Gyarados comes out. So Mirror Shot is just for Chip. I also use a priority Thunder Wave to paralyze the Honchkrow as it hits another Steel Wing. Then I bring in I'm on a boat as the Honchkrow gets fully paralyzed. So we knock him out with a Thunderbolt on the next turn. Then last is Gyarados. Lysander Mega evolves and then hits a fairly strong Outrage, but then I'm on a boat gets off a Perish Song. So now the Mega Gyarados is on a timer. I switch to Girl on Fire, who is immune to Outrage. Then I go for a Protect as Gyarados' Perish counter falls to 1. So on the next turn I switch to Maneater, whose Levitate actually does get ignored by Gyarados' Mold Breaker ability, but it doesn't matter because he resists Earthquake anyways. And with that, the Perish counter falls to 0, and Mega Gyarados goes down, winning us the battle. Now that the end of the world has been avoided, it's time to catch some more team members. First is Durant in Terminus Cave. I name her Diva and she goes straight to the box. Next is Heatmore on Route 18, who I name Tongue-Tied, which I definitely spelled wrong on purpose. Yeah, that was on purpose. We have to do the Rival Bridge Gauntlet next, but now that I know when they heal me, it's not as hard as it has been in the past. As always, Goodra is a bit of a challenge, but other than that, it's all fairly easy, so I'll skip it. Next up, I catch a Stunfisk on Route 19. I name her Country Roads. And finally, I catch a Ditto in Pokemon Village, who I name Shape of You. There are a few other possible encounters here and there, but I don't need them to beat this challenge, so I'm just gonna leave them. That gets us to Wulfric, whose team bravely asks the complicated question, do you have a Pokemon that knows Flamethrower? And fortunately, we just got Tongue-Tied, who can learn Flamethrower. This is such an incredibly underwhelming fight. Granted, the Cryogonal does have Confuse Ray, so I do need to hold a Person Berry, and they do have pretty good special defense, so we don't get the one-shot with Flamethrower, but on the next turn we just brush off an Ice Beam, and then knock out the Cryogonal with a second Flamethrower, winning us the 8th and final gym badge. That gets us to Victory Road. Despite almost all of the gyms of Kalos being a total joke, Victory Road has a few fairly challenging trainers, so it's a pretty good idea to be a bit cautious and avoid as many trainers as possible. But I don't do that, so there are a few close calls, including accidentally running into a Wild Fearow, not being able to escape, and almost losing Girl on Fire to a critical hit Drill Run. However, we do survive that brush with death. But then I fight Black Belt Ander, which is a completely optional fight. Now, according to all the information in my trainer doc that I have about the IVs of this Heracross, YMCA is always supposed to guarantee kill with a Psychic here. So, not wanting to miss Air Slash, I go for the safe play and click Psychic, which does not get the one-shot. So, Heracross retaliates with a Stone Edge, which of course kills YMCA. This death was pretty frustrating. Admittedly, I had no reason to fight this trainer, but it feels really bad that I safely did the calc and took the safe play of going for Psychic instead of Air Slash, and the only reason that YMC goes down is because I just had the wrong information. Not much I could have done, other than, not fight that trainer. I guess what I'm saying is that I suck at this game. Rest well, young man. There's no need to feel down. You earned a long rest. Well, moving on to the final fight with Serena. She leads with her Meowstic, so I lead with the Cat Killer Style, who has a new do since we last saw him. A Fake Out causes him to flinch, but Meowstic takes more damage from the Rocky Helmet than she actually dishes out. Then a return hits Meowstic hard, and we brush off a Psychic. So another return finishes off the Meowstic. Next is Chestnut, so I switch to Girl on Fire, who takes big damage from Brick Break. Unfortunately, I don't see any other play here but to risk a critical hit. So a Dazzling Gleam leaves Chestnut in the red, and mercifully, we survive the Brick Break in return. So another Dazzling Gleam finishes off the Chestnut. Third for Serena is Vaporeon. So I switch to I'm on a Boat, who is immune to Muddy Water thanks to Water Absorb. Then we start chugging away with Thunderbolt. I'm on a Boat's damage output is a little wanting, but Vaporeon only has Aurora Beam, so we take him out a few turns later without taking much damage. Fourth is Altaria, who starts by using Confide to lower our special attack, but an Ice Beam is still enough for the one-shot. So last is Absol. I switch to Cardigan, who takes very little damage from Night Slash, then he takes a little bit more damage from a Day Slash on the next turn, and a Storm Throw one-shots the Absol, winning us the final rival fight. That gets us to the Elite Four. Here's my final team of 6, leveled up to the level cap of 65. We honestly don't have the best answers to a few key threats, but I do think that this is the best team of 6 that I can bring. Well, maybe Stunfisk isn't exactly the most optimal Pokemon I could bring, but I mean, come on, we gotta use this derpy moron if we can, right? Let's see if this team has what it takes. First is Malva, who specializes in fire types. She leads with her Pyroar, so I lead with Cardigan. Malva hits a Flamethrower, which doesn't burn, so a single Storm Throw knocks out Pyroar in one shot. Second is Talonflame, so I bring in Country Roads, who takes a Brave Bird like an absolute champ. Then she takes a Flare Blitz and kills the duck with a Thunderbolt. Third is Torkoal, so I switch to I'm on a Boat as Torkoal goes for an Earthquake, which does an adorable amount of damage. Then we kill Torkoal in one shot with a Surf. Last is Chandelure, so I stay in and get hit with a Confide. This means that a Surf doesn't one-shot Chandelure, so Malva uses a full restore and survives another Surf. And then she does it again. Then she hits a Confuse Ray, and I'm on a Boat gets confused and hits herself in confusion. So I have to switch out to Style, who also gets hit by a Confide. But then we outspeed and take a yummy bite out of that Chandelier, knocking it out and winning us the battle. One down. Second is Drasna, who uses Dragon types. She leads with Dragalagi, and I lead with Cardigan. An Earthquake isn't quite enough for the one-shot, so Cardigan gets hit with a Sludge Bomb. But at least this means that Drasna wastes her full restores here. A few more Earthquakes take out the Seahorse. Second is Altaria. She has Moonblast, but even a crit doesn't kill Cardigan, so I just stay in. She just ends up going for a Cotton Guard, which is fine because we hit her with a Rock Tomb just to lower her speed. Then I switch into I'm on a Boat, who is holding a Chesto Berry, but it doesn't end up mattering because Altaria misses a Sing. So then an Ice Beam knocks out Altaria. Next is Druddigon, who has Revenge and Chip Away. So I start with a Protect. Then I switch to Style, who thanks to his fur coat takes very little damage from Revenge, and also gets chip damage on Druddigon with Rocky Helmet. Then I go for a Charm, as Druddigon loses a bit more health from using Revenge into Style's Rocky Helmet. Then I switch to Girl on Fire on a third Revenge, which is now basically doing nothing. And thanks to the chip damage, Dazzling Gleam now cleanly knocks out the Druddigon. Last for Drasna is Noivern, who knows Flamethrower. So I switch to I'm on a Boat, who shrugs off the Flamethrower. Then she gets hit by a Super Fang and knocks out Noivern with a single Ice Beam, winning us another easy Elite Four battle. Third is the Steel-type Elite Four member Wikstrom. He leads with a Qwilfish, so we lead with Tongue-Tied. Qwilfish sets up a priority layer of spikes and then goes down to a Flamethrower. Probopass is second, so I switch to I'm on a Boat. We do get hit by a super effective Power Gem on the switch, so this wasn't the best switch in, but because I'm on a Boat is fairly specially bulky and Probopass is pretty weak, it doesn't do that much damage. 238 HP down to 146 HP is 92 damage. So even a critical hit would only do about 138 damage, so we're safe to click Surf here, despite Probopass not being able to be one-shot. But then, Probopass gets what appears to be the highest of high rolls and a critical hit, which knocks out I'm on a Boat. Well, that was pretty stupid, given that at least 2 of my other team members could easily handle this Dumbo. It's also really bad, because the remaining Elite Four member Seabold has a few Pokemon that I definitely needed I'm on a Boat to handle. So that fight is going to be a bit of a challenge now. But first, let's finish Wikstrom. Cardigan comes out and uses Storm Throw to revenge kill the Probopass, after Wikstrom heals a bit. Leftovers also manages to heal the damage from spikes we took on the switch, so it's nice that Wikstrom does that for us. Next is Aegislash, who is always pretty scary since the AI is a bit unpredictable with King Shield. He starts with a King Shield, so my Protect does nothing. Then Aegislash switches forms and goes for an Iron Head. Thankfully we don't flinch, so an Earthquake just knocks it out in one shot. Last is Scizor, so it's an easy switch into Tongue-Tied, who tanks an Iron Head. And then on the next turn, she outspeeds to knock out Scizor in one shot with a Flamethrower. That's Wikstrom defeated. But now it's time for Seabold. The reason he's so scary is because his Clawitzer has amazing coverage and hits super hard into our entire team. He also has a Dragon Dancing Gyarados, which would have been an easy one-shot with Thunderbolt from I'm on a Boat. But now the Gyarados possesses a huge threat since he'll outspeed and one-shot Country Roads, and nothing else can get the one-shot. But I have a plan. Ish. Seabold leads with Clawitzer, so I lead with Tongue-Tied. She outspeeds to set up a Sunny Day, meaning that Water Pulse will do half damage, and we can also use a one-turn Solar Beam on the next turn for the one-shot. But of course, Clawitzer gets the Confusion. There was really no way to play around this though. Tongue-Tied needs to be holding a Miracle Seed to kill with Solar Beam in one shot, so I wasn't able to hold a Person Berry here. With Sunny Day up, I can now switch to Country Roads and survive 2 Water Pulses, but I'm risking 2 more potential Confusions from Water Pulses if I do that. So I just stay in and pray. Don't leave me, Tongue-Tied. Please, not yet. I click Solar Beam, and she comes in clutch. Tongue-Tied breaks through with Solar Beam and knocks out the Clawitzer. That is a Hall of Fame deserving performance from Tongue-Tied. Good job. After this battle, you are going to get a nice plate of victory ants. This brings in Gyarados though, so I switch to Style, who shrugs off an Earthquake. Then I go for a Return, though it doesn't appear that it's the 2-shot like I was expecting it to be. So that's pretty concerning, because Gyarados gets off a Dragon Rage. Now, if he starts flinching with Waterfall, things are going to get really bad. Gyarados goes for another Dragon Dance though, and a Return leaves him with just a Sliver. So, as Seabold heals, I hit the Gyarados with a Charm to reset his attack boosts. Then, he goes for a third Dragon Dance as I hit a Return, though I definitely should have gone for another Charm. On the next turn, Gyarados hits a hard Waterfall, and I get off another Charm, though now, with the Rocky Helmet chip, it would have actually been better to just knock out the Gyarados with a Return, because we are now risking a critical hit. Fortunately, I'm not at all punished as Style, with that James Dean daydream look in his eyes, survives a non-critical hit Waterfall, avoids the flinch, and finishes off Gyarados. I definitely could have played that better. Third for Seabolt is Barbaracle, so I switch to Cardigan, who tanks a Cross Chop fairly well. Then Barbaracle goes for a Razor Shell, which fortunately doesn't get the defense drop or the crit. So Cardigan survives to hit a Storm Throw, which leaves Barbaracle with a Sliver. So Seabolt heals, and I go for Bulk Up. This is obviously risking a critical hit, but we're risking a critical hit regardless. Thankfully, a Razor Shell doesn't crit, and Barbaracle goes down to a follow-up Storm Throw. So last is Starmie, but only Girl on Fire and Country Roads are healthy enough to handle this thing. I start by switching to Girl on Fire, who shrugs off a Psychic. Leftovers healing helps a bit too. Then we go for a priority Sunny Day so that Starmie's damage with Surf is halved, but they just set up a Light Screen. Then they just go for another Psychic, and I hit a weak Dazzling Gleam. Then I go for a Protect for more recovery and to stall out Light Screen. Then I tank another Psychic and hit another weak Dazzling Gleam. Then it's a Protect, which causes the sunlight to fade as well as the light screen to wear off. So I set up a second sunny day and Starmie hits a weak Surf. Then I switch to Country Roads on a Psychic. Starmie hits another Psychic on the next turn, but then Country Roads retaliates with a Thunderbolt, knocking out the Starmie and winning us a very stressful final Elite Four fight. If Barbaracle had gotten a critical hit, or a defense drop with Razor Shell, or Starmie had gotten a special defense drop, or Tongue-Tied had hit herself in confusion, that could have been an absolute disaster. But we made it through to the final fight of the challenge against Diantha. Fortunately, her Pokemon are all pretty bad, sans the Mega Gardevoir. Originally, I was planning on taking Gardevoir out with a Paris song from I'm on a Boat, but now the plan is to kinda just wing it. Let's see how it goes. It starts off well though, with Hawlucha going for a Swords Dance, and then Girl on Fire knocking it out in one shot with a Dazzling Gleam. I was expecting Tyrantrum to come in next, but instead it's Goodra, so I switch to Cardigan, who dodges a Fire Blast for the first time all run. Then he brushes off a Dragon Pulse and hits a hard Storm Throw. I go for a Protect to get some more Leftovers recovery on the next turn. Then I tank another Dragon Pulse and finish off Goodra with a second Storm Throw. Next is Aurorus for whatever reason, so we outspeed and kill it with a ×4 super effective Storm Throw. Cool. Then it's Tyrantrum, so I start off with a Protect for some Leftovers recovery. Then I go for a Bulk Up as Tyrantrum hits a pretty soft Dragon Claw. Then it's another Protect. Because why not? Better safe than sorry, right? And then Cardigan fires off his last Storm Throw of the playthrough to one-shot Tyrantrum. Fifth for Diantha is Gourgeist, so I start with a Protect as it goes for Phantom Force. So I safely switch to Style on the next turn, who is immune to Phantom Force. Then I switch out to Tongue-Tied, who gets hit by a Trick or Treat. This gives Tongue-Tied a secondary Ghost typing, meaning that when Gourgeist goes for a Phantom Force, we're now at risk to getting hit by a super effective attack. So I have to switch back to Style, who is immune yet again. I end up having to do this a few times because Gourgeist insists on trick-or-treating Tongue-Tied every time I switch her in, but eventually she just goes for a Seed Bomb on the switch instead. So Gourgeist then goes for a Trick-or-Treat, meaning that we can now hit a Flamethrower and knock her out in one shot. So last for Diantha is Mega Gardevoir. I decide that the best thing to do here is to sack Tongue-Tied to get a free switch into another Pokemon, not remembering that Gardevoir would actually just go for Shadow Ball instead of Psychic because of the Trick-or-Treat, meaning that we could have easily brought Style in completely free. So unfortunately Tongue-Tied kind of died for nothing. Though who knows, maybe the AI does have a chance to go for Psychic here anyways. Some of these fights can be pretty unpredictable. Nevertheless, thank you for your sacrifice, Tongue-Tied, and for your unbelievable performance against Seabold. Wherever you are, I hope that there are plenty of ants. I bring in Girl on Fire. The idea here is to use Prankster Confide and Thunderwave to lower Gardevoir's special attack and speed until Girl on Fire goes down. Then I can bring in Country Roads and kill Gardevoir with a cheeky Fissure. But then I remember that unfortunately Fissure won't work since Gardevoir is at a higher level than Country Roads. Lame. Fine, I guess we'll do it the boring way and kill the Gardevoir with 2 Mirror Shots. She even gets paralyzed here too. And so, with that, we've won the battle and the run. That was a fun one. It wasn't particularly difficult until the very end when I let my Lapras go down to a freaking Probopass, but at least it made that Seabold fight a bit more exhilarating. What's a Nuzlocke challenge without a little bit of high-stakes drama as a direct result of an easily avoidable death? I've really been enjoying these runs where I get to use Pokemon that I've never used before, so thanks to my community for voting on this one. And thank you for watching. It's been a while since I've said anything at the end of my videos more than a general thank you, but for those of you who don't know, I became a full-time content creator at the start of February, and these first few weeks have been an absolute blast. I'm unbelievably lucky that so many people tune into these videos, and I seriously want to thank you all so much for allowing me to feasibly do my dream job. Anyways, if you enjoyed watching, please like the video and subscribe. Or don't, I don't know. But I do know that you should follow me on Twitter and Twitch to keep up with streams of my future challenges, and be sure to join the Flag on HG community Discord where you can discuss Nuzlocking and make recommendations for future challenges. Stay tuned for more Nuzlocke videos, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.